What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Sanchez405 coming at you. It's on the Warpath. And before we get started, as always, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on the video. And hit a milestone this week. Hit 600 subscribers. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. All the love, the comments, the supports, the positives, the negatives. It helps make this product a whole lot better. So we do appreciate the support from all of you all. We're gunning for 1,000 here. Hope we can get there by the end of the year so we can give away that free jersey that we've been talking about here on the channel. So without further ado, it's the second edition of the Who Is series. Learn about the Redskins coaching staff. And why not? We got the buzz all around the squad, right? And the defensive side of the ball is going to be strong. Got rid of Dusty Minuski. In place, Riverboat Ron. He had to find a guy where he could roll on the river with. Who else than getting a guy whose last name literally means from the river? Jack Del Rio, the former head coach, defensive coordinator. He is a USC product, University of Southern California. He's a California boy, played linebacker for the Trojans. Little no fun fact, the cat was drafted to play baseball by the Toronto Blue Jays back in 1981, straight out of high school. Obviously, Jack decided to go get his education. He's a 4-year starter for the Trojans on the football team. Also played baseball there, where he actually played catcher and caught for Randy Johnson. He actually played with Mark McGuire. So any of you baseball nuts out there, you know what those guys mean to the game of baseball. But after his career was done, he also garnered co-MVP of the '85 Rose Bowl, and he won he was nominated for the Lombardi Award, which he was runner-up in that, and then he was All-American in his senior season. In 1985, he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. He played for 5 different teams, including the Saints, Chiefs, Cowboys, Vikings, and Dolphins. He made the all-rookie team that year when he was drafted by the Saints, and he earned his lone Pro Bowl honor in '94 as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. And he had 5 consecutive seasons of 100-plus tackles. His best season coming in '93. Ironically, not a Pro Bowl year, where he had 169 tackles. Over his career, he collected 1,005 tackles, 13 sacks, 13 interceptions, 12 forced fumbles, and he played for the likes of Bum and Wade Phillips in New Orleans. Also played for Jim Mora, playoffs Jim Mora. And then when he went to Dallas, he played for Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wannstedt there. And then Denny Green, Tony Dungy, and Monte Kiffin in Minnesota. And we know what Tony Dungy did, Hall of Fame coach there. Denny Green was a good coach as well. Monte Kiffin, great defensive mind behind the Tampa 2 defense along with Tony Dungy. So he's got some good training from some of the best coaches in the business. And he went to Miami where he didn't make the team. Zach Thomas overtook him and beat him out for a spot. And he retired prior or after the '96 season. And then Mike Ditka comes a call. There's the connection right there to Riverboat Ron. And he was the assistant strength coach, I believe, in the Saints organization. And then he was bumped up to linebackers. Mark Fields, who played for the Carolina Panthers, missed the season because of, I think, lymphoma or non-Hopkins lymphoma. And he had one of his better seasons, 109 tackles, 6 sacks. And they also had another guy, the late Kevin Mitchell, who played for the Washington Redskins, was under the tutelage of Jack Del Rio there in 1998. But then former Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator Brian Billick called Jack Del Rio and was like, hey, I'm putting together a staff. You want to come to Baltimore? I got some linebackers here that you might want to train up. Who might he have seen in promising in Baltimore? None other than Ray Lewis, of course. Peter Boulware as well. He was more of a hybrid outside linebacker defensive end, and Jamie Sharper. And he was directed under Marvin Lewis, who was a longtime Cincinnati Bengals head coach. And he also won that Super Bowl. Ray Lewis won the MVP of the Super Bowl back in 2000, where they beat up on that New York Giants squad. Probably one of the best defenses in NFL history. Probably the best single-season performance of a defense in NFL history. Ray Lewis put together 3 of his best seasons under Del Rio, where he was there from 99 to 01 at 434 combined tackles, total 10 sacks, had 8 interceptions during that time. Jamie Sharper had his best season in sacks, had 10 in 01 under Del Rio. Peter Boulware put together 32 sacks, which was a consecutive 3-season high for him under Jack Del Rio. Some of that probably would have came on the line, but still, Jack Del Rio did have his fingerprints on Peter Boulware. And then in 02, he finally got the chance to be the defensive boss. John Fox was hired from the New York Giants to go to Carolina, and he called Jack Del Rio to become his defense coordinator. That defense ranked second in third down percentage. They were 5th in points, and they were 2nd in yards. They were 7-9. They won, I think they were 1-15 the previous year. So that defense helped them jump up 6 games from the previous season. Julius Peppers garnered Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had 12 sacks under Del Rio. Mike Rucker, another guy you may have heard of, had 10 that year. And some of these guys that they had on this team, they had Brinson Buckner, Chris Jenkins, Mark Fields again, Dan Morgan, Will Weatherspoon, yep, that Will Weatherspoon right there, Deion Grant, and Mike Minter, who also had a career high in interceptions that lone season under Jack Del Rio as the defensive boss. But then Jack Del Rio, he made his way up, and Wayne Weaver and the Jacksonville Jaguars called him and was like, hey, let's make you a head coach. And Jack Del Rio did not waste any time replacing Tom Coughlin. He was the second head coach in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And from 2004 to 2007, the Jags won 40 games, did not have a losing record. I think their lowest total was 8. They ranked in the top 10 in points and top 12 in yards defensively during that little 3-game stretch. Made the playoffs 3 times, and they upset Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh in 07. They ran into the Patriots twice, where they lost in 05 and 07. They lost that undefeated Patriots squad back in 07. But that was interesting. They had 9, 12, 8, and 11 were their win totals in those consecutive years. They hit a snag in 08 to 11. They could never get over that 500 mark again. They never won an AFC South title. They did have a quarterback shuffle. Byron Leftwich, David Garrard. He is responsible for helping draft Maurice Jones-Drew. They did have some duds there as well. Matt Jones, who was a quarterback drafted as a wide receiver from Arkansas, I believe. He also had Reggie Nelson, John Henderson, Marcus Stroud on that defense in Jacksonville. And he was fired 11 games into the 2011 season. Some of the coaches that worked under him were Anthony Lynn, who's the head coach of the LA Chargers right now, Mike Smith, who was one of his cohorts in Baltimore, was his defense coordinator, Billy Musgrave, who was the Redskins quarterbacks coach and play caller in 05, and Dave Campo, if we've seen him a lot as Redskin fans, he's the head coach of the Cowboys, one of Jerry Jones's Cowboy cronies. He was there for a long time. Carl Smith was quarterbacks coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Tice, Kenny Anderson, quarterback for the Bengals for a long time, and he was also their wide receiver and quarterbacks coach. And then Mel Tucker, who's now the the head coach at Michigan State, just recently took that job. So after he was fired, John Fox called him again, and he said, hey, man, I need you to help me get this defense back together again. They ranked in the top 3, 2 of 3 years under Jack Del Rio. He was able to help foster Von Miller. They were the top 3 in third downs 2 out of those 3 years. And that Super Bowl season that they had in 2013, that was probably their worst defensive performance during Jack Del Rio's tenure as a defensive coordinator. They were 22nd in points, 19th in yards. Von Miller had his highest single season sack total, which was 18.5 in 2012 under Jack Del Rio. And Jack Del Rio had some good talent there that he helped lead. Derek Wolfe, of course, Champ Bailey. Redskins fans remember them. Still think we got screwed on that trade, but that's for a different video, right? Chris Harris Jr., Mike Adams, Wesley Woodyard again, Elvis Dumerville, Danny Trevathan, Malik Jackson, Duke Iheanacho, DRC, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Terrence Potroast Knighton, Quentin Jammer was there from the Chargers, Sean Phillips, Raheem Moore, Kayvon Webster, who was with the Redskins just last year, Bradley Roby, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, TJ Ward, and Brandon Marshall, the linebacker. They were there for him. And then he put together a good body of work. So the Raiders called him. Little Mark Davis with his bowl cut called him and said, hey, I need you to help make this train wreck better, get us back on track. So he took over a 13-3 squad as the head coach in 2015 for the Oakland Raiders. And they bounced back, won 4 games more than they did the previous season in 2015. They were 7-9. There was a lot of buzz around this team. They were 12-4 in their second season, and they had an opportunity to host their first playoff game in over, oh my gosh, since like 2002 when they last went to the Super Bowl. And Derek Carr was hurt in Week 16 against the Indianapolis Colts. The game they actually won, and the bottom fell out. They lost. Kansas City won because they had swept them in the regular season. All they had to do was win out. They would have been 13-3, and Kansas City was 12-4. That was the best they could have finished, but the bottom fell out there. They were tied at 12-4, so they had to go on the road to the Houston Texans. They did not have their backup quarterback situation was atrocious. Connor Cook, Mac McGloin, I don't think either one of these guys are still in the league. This is a team that had Kahlil Mack. Kahlil Mack had been drafted the previous season, so under his. And now this is Ken Norton was a defensive coordinator, but Jack Del Rio had to have his influence there. Kahlil Mack had 36.5 sacks with Jack Del Rio as his head coach, and he was Defensive Player of the Year in 2016-17. He got fired and in way for John Gruden. There was rumors that he was interviewed by Zach Taylor in Cincinnati for their defensive coordinator position. He's been out of the league for this one made 3 years, so he was at ESPN for a little bit. But yeah, that is the Jack Del Rio. This is the Jack Del Rio story right here. I say it, I sound like a broken record, but I love the Jack Del Rio move. I think this is a guy, you've got somebody who's legitimate, who's got a great record, as I've already highlighted, and he's going to make these guys head knockers. The burgundy and gold are going to be head knockers because of him. He has a proven track record. He can turn. Look, did you not hear the pass rushers that said Julius Peppers? Man, he had Peter Bolware, Von Miller, and Kahlil Mack. All these guys. You can't tell me Chase Young can't. If he's even half of what these guys are, which I think he's a little bit more, Redskins going to be all right on defense, y'all. Just wait and see. But hey, That is the Who is Jack Del Rio. Tell me what you think. Comment, share this video out. And as always, like I say here on the Warpath every single time, I love you guys and love, peace, and hell. I'll be talking to y'all real soon. I'm out.